The camera opens in silence. No music yet, just a soft ambient sound, like distant breathing or the hum of life itself. Have you ever noticed how life feels like it keeps bringing you back to the same place? Different faces, different names, different times, but the same pain, the same hope, the same mistake. We swear this time will be different. We promise ourselves we've learned. And yet, somehow, we're here again. Gabriel Rolón once said that life is an eternal repetition. Not because life wants to punish us, but because there is something we still haven't understood. Think about it. How many times have you loved in the same way and ended in the same wound? How many times have you run from silence, only to find yourself exhausted and empty? How many times have you chosen what felt familiar instead of what felt right? We don't repeat because we're weak. We repeat because repetition is the language of the unconscious. It whispers what we refuse to listen to when we're awake. It rebuilds the same scenario, again and again, waiting for us to finally ask, why does this keep happening to me? Maybe it's not about the others who leave, or the doors that close, or the dreams that fall apart. Maybe it's about the part of you that still believes love must hurt to be real. The part of you that confuses chaos with passion, absence with desire, suffering with meaning. Life repeats until you stop running and start looking. Every repetition carries a message. A lesson wrapped in pain. A truth hidden inside disappointment. But most of us don't listen. We change cities, change partners, change jobs, change masks, and expect the story to change. But the story doesn't change until the protagonist does. There is a moment, quiet, uncomfortable, unavoidable, when life puts a mirror in front of you. Not to judge you, not to shame you, but to ask you a simple question: are you ready to see yourself? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You realize that the fear you keep blaming on others was always yours. That the abandonment you feel so deeply may come from the times you abandoned yourself. That the love you chase outside is the love you never learned to give within. And this realization hurts. It hurts because it breaks the illusion that someone else will save you. It hurts because it takes away your excuses. It hurts because growth is never gentle. But this is where repetition ends. Not when life changes, but when you do. When you choose to respond instead of react. When you stay instead of escape. When you speak instead of silence yourself. When you dare to feel instead of numbing the pain. Life doesn't stop repeating because it finally gives up on you. Life stops repeating because you finally listened. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you stand at the same door, facing the same choice, you won't walk in blindly. You'll pause. You'll breathe. You'll recognize the pattern. And for the first time, you'll choose differently. Because life was never punishing you. It was waiting for you to wake up. It always begins the same way. Not loudly. Not dramatically. It begins quietly, almost innocently, with a feeling you recognize too well. A sense that you've been here before. Same emotions, different day. Same knot in the chest, different reason. And you tell yourself, no, this time it's different. You want to believe it. You need to believe it. But deep inside, something knows the truth. Life doesn't repeat itself randomly. It repeats with precision. It brings back the same type of people, the same situations, the same endings, just dressed in new clothes. And we walk toward them, not because we want to suffer, but because familiarity feels safer than the unknown. Even when it hurts, we are creatures of memory. Of emotional memory. We fall in love with what resembles our past, not what heals it. We choose what feels known, not what feels good. And then we're surprised when the story ends the same way. You sit there one night, staring at the ceiling, asking yourself, why does this always happen to me? And that question is heavy. It carries exhaustion, frustration, a quiet sadness that no one else sees. Because from the outside, everything looks fine. You smile, you function, you keep going. But inside, there's a loop playing over and over again. The truth is uncomfortable. Life repeats because we haven't changed the question yet. We keep asking, why them? Instead of, why me? Not in a blaming way. In an honest way. A brave way. There is a part of you that learned something long ago. Maybe love meant being ignored. Maybe affection meant earning it. Maybe safety meant staying quiet. Maybe being chosen meant sacrificing yourself. These lessons didn't come from nowhere. They came from moments when you were too young, too vulnerable, too alone to choose differently. And so life keeps recreating those moments. Not to hurt you, but to give you another chance. Each repetition is an invitation. A chance to respond differently than you did before. But responding differently requires awareness. And awareness requires pain. Because to see the pattern, you have to admit it exists. And admitting it exists means accepting responsibility for your own healing. That's the part we avoid. It's easier to blame fate. Easier to blame bad luck. Easier to say, this is just how life is. Because if it's just life, then you don't have to change. You don't have to face your fears. You don't have to let go of what's familiar. But the price of not changing is repetition. Life will bring the same lesson again, and again, and again, until the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of changing. There comes a moment when you realize you're tired. Not just tired physically, but tired emotionally. Tired of explaining yourself. Tired of hoping. Tired of breaking and rebuilding. Tired of starting over from the same place. That tiredness is important. It's not weakness. It's clarity. Because when you're truly tired, you stop running. You stop distracting yourself. You stop pretending everything is okay. And in that stillness, something shifts. You start listening. You hear the questions you've been avoiding. Why do I stay where I'm not valued? Why do I chase what doesn't choose me? Why do I fear being alone more than being unhappy? Why do I keep silencing myself? These questions don't have easy answers. They weren't meant to. They were meant to wake you up. And awakening doesn't feel peaceful at first. It feels like grief. Because you mourn the version of you who didn't know better. You mourn the time you lost. You mourn the love you gave away hoping it would save you. But grief is also a release. Slowly, gently, you begin to understand that repetition isn't failure. It's feedback. Life saying, look here. This matters. This needs attention. And when you finally look, really look, you see the thread connecting everything. The same fear. The same belief. The same wound asking to be healed. This is where change becomes possible. Not overnight. Not magically. But consciously. You pause before reacting. You notice when something feels familiar for the wrong reasons. You listen to the discomfort instead of ignoring it. You choose yourself in small, quiet ways that no one applauds but your soul feels. And it feels strange at first. Because breaking a pattern feels like betrayal. Betrayal of who you've always been. Betrayal of what you thought you deserved. Betrayal of the pain that once protected you. But with time, that strangeness turns into peace. You realize life isn't repeating anymore. It's moving forward. Not because everything became perfect, but because you became present. You stopped living on autopilot. You stopped handing your story to the past. And maybe one day, you'll look back at all those repetitions and feel gratitude. Not for the pain, but for the persistence. For the way life kept knocking, patiently, until you opened the door. Because life never wanted to trap you in a cycle. It wanted to teach you who you are. And once you learn that, the repetition ends. Not with noise, not with celebration, but with a quiet, powerful choice. A choice to live differently.